Hi, I'm Amina Wasuma, and I'm here to talk about my novella, For the Love of Blood, Episode 5, An Offer You Can't Refuse. Now, we left off with Amber in Blood's shabby apartment. Well, a week has gone by, and they've fixed it up. It looks really fabulous. Soupy, Cisco, and Jonesy all help paint, and Blood buys new futuristic furniture. It looks like a completely different place. And they painted like earth green and, brown, and they have white modular plastic futuristic contemporary furniture. And so it's really nice. And she has a round bed. Something like Betty's, right? Okay. Anyway, they're lying in bed, and Blood is saying, "Oh, we really make a good team." And she says, "Yes, I know." And he says, "I love you." And she said, "You love me? You mean I've broken through that coal hustler heart of yours?" And he says, "Yeah, I love you." And she says, "Well, I demand loyalty, and, that's my requirements." And he says, "Well, you remind me of when I was 17, and I was in Mississippi." And he goes to tell her, he has his flashback, and he goes to tell her about Satara. And he's gambling. He's in, this is how he makes his extra money. Because he doesn't have any money, so he makes his money from gambling. So he's gambling. And this is a shanty little town and shack that his mother and him live in. And so he's gambling, and there's Satara, sexy, with a nice low-cut red dress on, and short, and her legs are showing. And she says to him, "I'm going to blow on your dice, and you're going to win." And so she blows on his dice, and he shoots the dice, and he wins. And she says, "See, I put a good luck spell on you." And he says, "What are you?" She says, "I can do all kind of spells. I can make you rich, and I just want a piece of the action." So he says, "Okay." She says, "Well, why don't you come to my place, and we can seal the deal?" So he says, "Your place?" She says, "Yeah. Through the woods, and we'll be there." So he goes with her. They go through the woods, and they come to this little shack, and they enter, and it's all like spider webs and candles and alligator skins and snakes in a, she's got two or three snakes in a box, glass case. She's got chickens. She's got candles lit. And he's like, "Wow." And she says, "Yeah, well, come into the bathroom." And so she leads him into the bathroom, and she tells him, "Take off your clothes and get in the tub." And he says, "Get in the tub, there's no water." She said, "Just take your clothes off and get in. I'll be right back." So he takes his clothes off and gets in the empty tub, and she comes in with a bucket of water with herbs in it, and she pours the water over him, and she starts sponging him down, and she starts chanting, "More money for blood, more money for blood, more money for blood." And then she gets into the tub, and she sits on him, and she commences to make love to him. Well, after they make love, They're laying in their bed, in her bed actually, and the clock is like midnight, and she's still asleep, you know. And so he gets up, and he puts on his clothes, and he puts on his sneakers, and he realizes that he can't find his shoestring, but it's dark, and, you know, one of the shoestrings on his right shoe. So he just puts the shoe on anyway, ties the other one up, and he tiptoes out and hightails it home through the woods. Well, a few minutes later, she wakes up. She wasn't really asleep. And she gets up and she takes the shoestring and she puts it in a bowl and she cuts a chicken's neck, drains the blood, dips the shoestring in the blood, and then she takes the shoestring out of the bowl and wraps it up in some white paper. So Blood goes home and he goes straight to bed. When he wakes up the next morning, the house is clean. Irma isn't, you know, she's clean. She's not drunk. She's fixed breakfast for him. He's like, wow, where'd you get the money, Ma? She says, well, Daniel came by and gave me $20. He said he owed you $20 and he wanted to pay you back. And I went out and I bought, you know, eggs and milk and bacon. And so have breakfast. He says, well, I got to get to school. She said, well, eat something before you go. So he eats. And she says, oh, he said, I didn't notice you cleaned up the house. And, you know, I came home late last night. And so she says, yeah, I did all of that. He said, you didn't buy a bottle of liquor? She said, yes, I bought a bottle of liquor too. And he says, Ma, you got to stop drinking. He said, I'm going to get enough money for us to move to New York. And she says, well, I don't want you to box. Promise me you won't box. And he says, I don't know. I can't make that promise, but I'm going to try not to if you promise me you'll stop drinking. And so he leaves. You know, after he eats his breakfast, he leaves. And he goes off to school. Now, he's in high school. So when he gets to the high school, he gets into class, and his girlfriend, Sadie, is sitting in, you know, like in the class, and he sits by her. And the teacher, and he's talking to her, will you help me with my homework tonight? And she's like, yeah. So the teacher asks him a question about who freed the slaves, and he says Abraham Lincoln. And, you know, she said, Blood, you're a smart kid, but, you know, you're never here. And you're behind in your homework. And he's like, okay. And so maybe Sadie can help you with your homework. And he said, sure. So the bell rings and he walks out with Sadie, and he kisses her, and she says, well, where were you last night? I waited for you. He said, oh, I went to Satara's house, and she put a spell on me for me to get more money. And so Sadie said, you stayed there all night? And he was like, yeah, we didn't do anything. And she's like, I know you, Blood. You know, it's either me or Satara. And he was like, okay, I'm not going to see Satara anymore, you know. And so he kisses her all on her face and everything. And there's this little boy spying on them, one of Satara's spies. And he runs back, you know, and tells Satara what he saw. So Blood is walking Sadie home, and Daniel comes up. And so Daniel's like, Blood, Old Man Hawkins is having a fight tonight, and he wants you to beat Black Butch. And he's willing to pay you $300 if you win. You know, all you got to do is spill blood. And Blood was like, I don't know. You know, my mom doesn't want me to fight anymore. And Sadie was like, yeah, you shouldn't fight, Blood. You know, it's not good. And he said, well, I need the money, $300. it's a lot of money. So Daniel said, yeah, $300. So he says, well, Daniel, what are you getting out of it? He said, I'm going to get my cut, you know, off the top. Old man Hawkins is going to give me like 10%, not of your money, but just 10% of $300. And that's pretty good. And so he says, well, I don't know. And Daniel says, well, come on, this is it. And so Blood says, well, okay, it's an offer I can't refuse. And Sadie said, well, your mom told you not to fight. And he's like, I need the money. And I can buy you whatever you want to buy. She said, well, I would like a dress, a wedding dress. And he says, okay, I'll be able to buy you a wedding dress, And so he leaves, he kisses Sadie goodbye, and he leaves with Daniel. And as they are going to old man Hawkins' house, they have to pass Satara's shack. So Satara is standing out on the porch, and she calls Blood. And Daniel says, don't go. We got to hurry up and get to old man Hawkins' house, for the fight. And Blood said, well, I got to talk to her because I want to, we got a little situation and I want to, I got to talk. And she was like, Blood, come here, now. So he goes, and she says, well, I heard, that you were kissing this girl out in front of your school. And he said, well, yeah, that's my girlfriend, Sadie. And she was like, well, that's disrespectful to me. I put a spell on you. You made money. You gave me my cut, and you're supposed to be making more money and be with me. He said, well, you seduced me. Just because you seduced me doesn't mean you own me. And I won't be able to see you anymore. And furthermore, I'm not going to split any money with you because I won that money on my own. Okay? I don't believe in magic. That was my own luck. And she said, well, I knew you were going to cross me. And that's why I took your shoelace. And so she opens the, white paper that she has the shoelace in, and there's some booba dust. And she blows it in his face. And he hauls off and punches her, knocks her down. And she grabs a rifle, like she has a buckshot rifle under the seat, like there's a little bench on the porch, and she has it under the seat, and she grabs it, and Blood sees it and starts to run it, and him and Daniel starts to run, and she starts firing at Blood and Daniel. She didn't hit him, but she, fired the shotgun twice trying to hit him. And he and Daniel just ran so fast. And finally they came to old man Hawkins's plantation house. Well, there was a party. It was all white people. Oh, it was decked out really nice. It was food. It was liquor. There was a, black band, African-American jazz band playing. And people were dancing. And so when Blood and Daniel showed up, old man Hawkins acknowledged them, and the music stopped. And he told Blood, well, are you going to fight? And Blood said, yeah. So let the games begin. Blood entered, everybody sat down. It was a crowd. It was a nice crowd there. It was couples. They were all white. And they sat down, surrounding the patio. And here comes Black Butch. Black Butch is like big, tall. And him and Blood get into a fighting stance. And Black Butch can't actually hit Blood because he's really fast in the ring. And Blood hits him and busts his lip open, knocks him down. He spilled blood. The fight is over. Just like that. And so old man Hawkins raises Blood's arm. The winner is Blood. So he gives him the $300, and he says, "I got to get home. I got to go to Sadie's house and pick up my books, and then, because she's doing my homework for me, and then I got to go home." So Daniel gives him a knife. "Well, here, take this knife with you, just in case you see some alligators on the road or whatnot, you got a knife to protect you. Like a razor-like knife." And so Blood said, "Okay." So he goes off, "See you later, Daniel." And he's walking just by the moonlight. It's dark now, So he's walking by the moonlight. There's no lights or anything on the road. You can hear the crickets. You can hear the frogs. You can hear stuff in the swamp, like swishing back and forth, because he's near the swamp, but he's on the road. So the road is dark, and he's going. All of a sudden, 25 cars pull up. Oh, not 25 cars. I'm sorry. 5 cars pull up with 25 men, 5 men in each car. And he can't run. And they got the lights turned on. And so they get out of the car. And 2 white men get out. The others get out of the car too. These are the Klan. And they're in plain clothes. They're not in their hoods or anything at this point. And so they get out and they say to him, "An old lady got robbed for $300. And so Blood said, "Well, I didn't do it, And he says, "Well, let me check your pockets." So one of the Klansmen go in his pocket and they pull out the money. They say, "Oh, this is $300. And he says, "No, I won that at Old Man Hawkins's. I won the fight, and that's my money. So what are you going to do with this $300, boy?" He says, "Well, I'm going to take my mom out of the South." He said, "Well, you one of them, damn freedom riders." And he says, "No, I'm not. I just want to take my mom out of the South. We're going up north." He said, "Well, not with this money. We're going to take this money back and give it to the old lady." And so Blood snatches the money out of the Klansman's hand. And he goes to run. And they attack him, and he punches quite a few, because he's a good fighter. Even though he's a young boy, but he's tall and strong. And he knocks a couple of them, out of his way. And he's running. And then finally they all gang up on him. And so he pulls the knife out of his pocket and he slashes one of the Klansmen's throat and runs. And so he's bleeding, he's bleeding, he's gushing blood, actually. And so they said, "Well, we'll get that in later. I know where he lives. And we got to take him to the hospital, because he's bleeding a lot." So they take him to the hospital, and the rest put on their outfits, and they put on their hoods and everything, because it's in the car, and the rest go to Blood's house. So now Blood is running through the swamps. He's running, trying to get there, trying to get home to warn his mom. So by the time he gets there, the Klanmen are already there. They got their hoods on. They got the cross burning. And as I said before, he witnesses his mom being burnt to a crisp. So he comes out of the flashback. And so Amber says, oh. He says, well, that's what happened. But other than that, you remind me of Satira. And she says, oh, I remind you of a witch, because that's what she was. He said, I don't believe, in her magic. But she said that I would never be loved by anyone. And I would never love anyone. So Amber says, well, she lied because you love me. And he's like, yeah. So he tells Amber, well, let's go to sleep because I got to go to work tomorrow. And she says, you got a job? He says, yes, I got a job working at Chang's Penny Arcade. And he made me an offer that I can't refuse. So I'm going to go. So she says, well, I'll go with you. And he says, well, I don't know about this. She says, well, I'm not doing anything tomorrow. Why not? And he says, okay, you can go with me. Tomorrow's my first day. And, I don't think Chang will mind. So they go to sleep. And they wake up the next day. She's cooking breakfast for him. And she mentions to him, because he has another flashback when she pours some milk for him. He has a flashback of going into the ice box in Mississippi in his shack and drinking sour milk. And he goes all the way to the grocery store, and some white men see him on the road, and they holler, get off the road and throw cans at him and everything. And when he gets to the mom and pop grocery store, everything is all rotten. And so he can only get some greens, and he gets a few things that are not. And they charge him like $65 for like only 3 items. And he's like, well, either take it or leave it. And he's like, this is robbery. So he has to take it. And, he just remembers the oppression. And so Amber tells him, so, you keep having these flashbacks, and maybe you should see somebody about it. And he's like, what do you mean I should see somebody about it? I'm not crazy. What the F is wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? And he goes off on her. As soon as she says, you should see somebody, it's like an insult to him. And he's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. He just snaps. And so she says, well, I'm sorry. I just thought, you maybe need to talk to somebody about it. I'm here to listen to you, but somebody that can really help you with this. Well, he gets mad and storms off into the bedroom. And they don't talk for a couple of hours. She cleans up. Finally, they leave and they go to Chang's. And, he introduces her to Baby James, EJ, Fat Bob, and Chang. Chang already knew Amber. She had bought $700 worth of cocaine from him. And so he knew her already. And he let, blood know I knew her. I met her before, But, so Chang said, well, stay here until 5 a.m. and then close up the place. Well, Amber stays there till around 12 with Blood. They play pool. They play pinball machines. And so Amber says, well, I got to go. because I got to get up tomorrow and go to work. I have a photo shoot. So she kisses Blood goodnight, and she leaves. So Blood and Fat Bob are there, and Baby James is in the back room looking at TV. Actually, he is asleep. He had fell asleep looking at the TV. And Bob says, well, what happened to Tony? I heard he left town. So Blood said, no, he didn't leave town. I killed him. And so Fat Bob said, well, you didn't kill him. He said, you cats are always talking about you killed somebody. He said, yeah, I killed him. He owed me some money, and he didn't have it, and I killed him. So Fat Bob said, well, what did you kill him with? He said, I shot him. He said, you didn't shoot him. He said, okay, I pistol whipped him. He said, well, where's the gun that you pistol whipped him with? So he takes the gun out of his, holster, and here it is. So Fat Bob said, let me see it. So he throws the gun at Fat Bob. Fat Bob looks at it and throws the gun back at him, and they throw the gun back and forth. They're playing. And the gun goes off, and it goes straight through the back room door, and it just grazes Baby James's ear. So they run in the back. Baby James is like terrified. He's on the floor, thinking a spray of bullets are coming behind that one. And they're like, oh my God, are you hurt? Are you hurt? I'm so sorry. We're so sorry. We didn't mean to do it, And it blew the television up, the bullet. So he says, are you guys crazy? You almost killed me. Oh, we didn't mean it. We didn't mean it. He said, just go outside. I just got to, get myself together. And he was like shaking and not really, calm. And so Blood and Fat Bob go outside, and he gets on the phone and he calls Chang. He said, Blood and Fat Bob fired a gun in here and they almost killed me. So he said, well, be cool, leave and let them lock up, and I'll talk to them tomorrow. So Baby James puts the phone down, and he gets his jacket, and he walks out. He says, well, I'm leaving, lock up, and come back tomorrow. And so, are you all right? He said, yeah, I'm cool. It's just a little flesh, burn on my ear. But other than that, I'm okay. So he leaves. So Blood and Fat Bob said, well, you think everything's all right? Yeah, everything's okay. Just let's clean up. So they clean up and straighten up the pool room and, put the chairs away. And they leave and lock up. And Blood goes home and goes to sleep. And so the next day, Amber is at Bill's and she's doing a photo shoot. And, so I can't wait. I'm going uptown after I finish the shoot. And she finishes it. And she goes uptown. This is later in the evening. And she goes to the Penny Arcade. And as she's walking in, Chang is pistol whipping Blood and Fat Bob. And Amber's like, what is going on? He said, I'm going to kill him. They were in here last night, and they fired a gun, playing with a gun, and it almost went off and killed my baby brother. Almost. And I'm going to kill them. And so he kept hitting Blood in the face with the gun. And Fat Bob cried and ran out. He ran. And Blood just stood there, and he just kept hitting him in the face. And Amber, started crying. Just a wellspring of emotion came over her. Please don't kill him. Please don't kill him. I love him. And Chang was like, can you promise me that he's not going to retaliate. And Amber's like, I promise you, he's not going to retaliate, you know. And Chang was like, well, just get on your knees and just like you praying. Please don't kill him, Chang. I love him. You know, for the love of blood, please do not kill him. And Chang hit him again. You know, I got the power to blow your brains out. And Blood's face is bloody now, you know. And he's not crying. He took it like a man. And he said, if you would retaliate and try to hurt my brothers or me, you know, I'll kill you right now. And Amber was like, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything. Please let him go. So he pushes Blood on Amber, you know, get this punk out of here, you know. And the only reason I'm saving him is on the strength of you, because you spent $700, you know, with me, and I know you got a good heart. This is what he tells Amber. This is the only reason why I'm sparing him. It's okay. Amber's like hysterical, you know, just so upset. So she takes Blood out, and they go to catch a cab. She says, we got to go to the hospital. He says, no, I can't go to the hospital. She said, I don't know how to fix this. You know, I've never seen anybody pistol whip. I don't know how to fix this. And he says, no, you're going to have to, you know, get some guts in you. And you're going to have to patch me up, because I'm not going to the hospital. They're going to ask questions. They're going to call the police. So they go back to the stash, and Amber, you know, cleans up his wounds and bandages his head. You know, it's like a gash on his forehead, and that's where all the blood is coming from. And so she puts, you know, cleans it up and bandages it and says, now we need to have this talk. And he's like, not now. Yeah, now. You know, I'm not going to be looking over my shoulder with you. Chang will kill you. And I'm not going to be on your arm when he does it. So you're going to have to make a life change. Now, you're going to have to get a job. He said, well, what kind of job am I going to get? I'm an ex-con. She said, an ex-con? You never told me you went to prison. He said, yeah, I did 7 years in prison. And so she says, well, you're going to have to get a job. And he said, well, what? You know, who's going to hire me? And she says, well, the state will hire you. I mean, somebody will hire you because the state will pay them to hire you. You're a convict. So he says, well, I don't have any more money. You know, I spent it on the furniture and everything. I don't have any more money right now. She said, well, I'll give you $1,500 for you to go downtown and get some suits. And, you know, you start looking in the paper and you go and apply for a job. And so he says, okay, all right. Aren't you going to come with me? She says, no. I have a modeling job coming up, and I'm going to Washington, D.C., and when I come back, you should have had some job offers. Anything. Cleaning, sweeping the floor, anything. So here, she writes a check. You know, she has her pocketbook, and she goes in and she gets a checkbook, and she writes a check for $1,500. She said, you can go to my bank. You can cash it. And she said, well, are you going to stay here tonight? And she says, no, I got to go home. And so she gives him the check, and she leaves and goes home. So now, this is a 360-degree turn for Blood. He thinks. He takes out his cocaine, and he takes a couple of sniffs, and he takes his drink. He thinks, I really got to get this together. You know, otherwise, I'm going to lose Amber, And, you know, I just got to go through with this. Or do I go through with this? Tune in for episode 6. Something's got to give.